Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Christy here to do the weekly reading for the sign of Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Gemini, if you don't know your Moon and Rising sign, there's a link in the description box where you can learn your whole birth chart, and that way for additional messages for the week, you can always look at your Moon and Rising sign readings as well as your Sun sign reading today. So this is for Gemini for the week of August 1st to August 8th, and we'll be doing a 5-card reading with the Wisdom of the Oracle deck here. And then we'll be drawing additional cards from each of the Healing with the Angels Tarot and the Medicine card Tarot. We are looking at general messages for your sign in terms of what do you need to know. So I encourage you to apply whatever you find useful and helpful here in this spread to what is most prominent in your life this week, Gemini. So let's get 5 jumper cards for you and we'll begin your spread. What does Gemini need to know? We had a few turn over there together, so let's get one more jumper each. We're looking for 2 more jumper cards, Gemini, and then we'll start looking at what each card means in each position. And then I'll hold them up for you one by one and we'll get a little bit more of an inside look of what's going on here. So we're just seeing one more jumper card. What does Gemini need to know? Sweet. Okay, so we have your 5 cards out. I'm just going to give you an overview of what position everything is in. And then what I'd like to do is get sort of a little snapshot, like a bird's eye view, sort of a snapshot of what's going on generally with the whole thing. So in your central position, which pertains to where you are currently this week, Gemini, is the by the book card. In the energy that you're just leaving or bringing into the week is the Imagine card. What is working for you is Treasure Island. What is working against you or what you need to become aware of is the Fates. And Probable Outcome card is the Observer. Generally speaking here, what we have the most prominent cards to me, of course, in terms of weight. Okay, not heaviness in terms of doom and gloom. I just mean weight, as in like supernatural influence here, are the Treasure Island and the Fates cards. The Treasure Island really does mean the law of attraction. It's the capital of everything. It's capital L, love, capital J, joy, capital H, hate, capital A. It's the birthplace of all these things. And the reason why this is so prominent and so, I would say, again, heavy in terms of weight, not negativity, is because we have these conjoined here with Imagine, with the Fates. So the law of attraction with the Fates, what you feel you deserve, what you feel is your fate, literally. Is it, or is it a feeling? And the reason I say this is because we have the imagination here conjoining these two. So I feel that for better or for worse, what is being created in terms of what you are attracting into your life as well as what you feel that you deserve right now, is something that you are manifesting out of your own imagination. And it doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing, it's not necessarily negative, but I would ask if it's true. Is it true? Because unless there is a spiritual guidance here, unless there is an overarching, I would even say, a surrender to something greater than yourself, something that you could be doing that you're not, because you haven't imagined it yet, or because you aren't aware of it yet, or you haven't allowed yourself to become aware of it, etc. Um, you're bringing yourself into this position of fatefulness, okay? What you consider fate at the moment, Gemini, may not necessarily be your fate. You may feel like something's fated because you feel it's a law of attraction, but the law of attraction is manifest through the imagination. So what are you bringing into your reality? Is it exactly what you want? Is it fated? Is there another way to go about this? Is there another life to lead? Is there, it's another way to frame this. Is there another way to go about in getting what you want? Uh, and then I'm going to use terms like deserve, right? Deservability, because many times what we feel like we deserve is because of the stories we tell ourselves. It's a narrative, right? So we have to follow through with this narrative. And then, for better or for worse, again, we can become married to that, in intention, in ideology. And it keeps us from looking at not only other perspectives, but from examining from an objective viewpoint what we're in the midst of, because we haven't examined it, because we won't, because we consider it fate, because we won't, because we've spent so much time doing this and now it's manifesting and now we can't get out of it. Well, and I'm just pretending that's a conversation we're having, but I'm going to suggest that it's part and parcel of the imagination process, not that the imagination doesn't bring things into the material reality, but that you could be imagining something is fateful when it's not. Okay, I'm going to move on. We have in your probable outcome card position the observer. Now, this is where it gets really beautiful for you, Gemini, in terms of what I just spoke about, in terms of what is real and what isn't this week for you, because we have what I consider a golden opportunity here to pay attention to being objective, at least for one element of your life. Like I said, this is a general reading, but whatever is most prominent, whatever, when I say that, and when this is all going on and we're sort of talking about these themes, whatever resonates when I bring this up, whatever you go, oh my God, like that makes sense when I think of blank. That's what I'm talking about here. So in continuation of that, if you were to give that what is appealing to you at this moment, what it's resonating with, a lot of thought, a lot of consideration here. And I don't just mean in terms of is it really showing up in the material world, or is this really what I thought about coming to life? No, you already know it is, right? The observation here, the critical analysis here, the golden opportunity to get to what are you bringing into fruition by following all the rules and doing everything you need to do. Is it speaking to your source, your soul, your core? Another way to examine this, and many, many people won't even bother doing this because it can be difficult for a lot of different reasons, but I'm going to ask that you try it. If this is at all making sense to you, try it. What did you want to do and be and become when you were a child? When you were 5 or 6 or 7 years old and you played and you imagined a world for yourself, like unless it was absolutely dangerous, what did you imagine? And I'm going to ask that you bring as an observational exercise, two things I'll ask that you partake in this week with regard to this thought or this process for you. Two ways to look at this. One, from a purely objective viewpoint, not what do I get out of it, how good is my life, my status, um, even riches or joys or opulence or even a sense of freedom here, whatever that means for you. And what is it if I feel I'm associated with that is beyond me, that I don't have control over? Really examine that. And is that real or is that part of the imagination? And the other part of the observation is to ask, what is it that you truly enjoyed as a child? Where did you get this feeling of freedom, this like soul freedom, right? Not just like physical freedom, but what made you feel light and free and happy? And ultimately, those things need to be important to you in the first place as values to even ask these questions. But Gemini, if they are really, I would take that that opportunity to have that um, the moment here, that there's a golden opportunity here to look at what meaning you're giving to things that you're bringing in to your material world, and why you feel fated to do these things. Okay. So as promised, I will look at each of these with you briefly, just to give you a greater understanding of why I'm looking at them the way I am. There also is a sense of family here. Whenever I consider elephants, we know that they live in matriarchy, so there could be an element of running something here, running the show, running a family, running a theme, a shop, a business even, something that feels like it's your baby, so to speak. Um, and you're following all the rules and you're doing everything that you really should be doing here. But look what you're meeting against is the imagination, or what you're bringing into it. So one could be superseding the other, in terms of one could be overpowering the other, or you could need to inject more imagination into this theme here of the family and being in charge of something. The imagination, or the imagine card, is just incredibly glorious, as you can see. This is a beautiful card. There's so much power here. Um, and this is another reason why I'm reading it the way I am, in conjunction with the fates and the treasure island, like the law of attraction and then fate, like really heavy energy cards. The imagination process is bringing this to life. I don't think that you're confused by this at all. I don't think you would deny this at all. But like I said, there is an element I do feel that's being missed, somehow denied here. Um, for whatever reason. Again, this comes with no judgment. If there is a fear, if there is something that's been buried here, particularly with regard to childhood here, I would say that now could be the time to even begin looking at it. I don't mean that you need to solve anything this week, Gemini. This certainly doesn't seem to be a rush here, but if you have a question, or there's something that feels to be outstanding, or you can't put quote unquote your finger on it, or something feels to be out of sorts, this could be one methodology in going about this here. And ultimately, if you do trust someone, whether they're close to you or not, it could be a peer or an acquaintance or a professional, however, would be more helpful. Maybe even to just get out some of these ideas to someone else who doesn't have a vested interest in some of these outcomes, right? So instead of, say, a best friend or a partner and having this conversation, or this themed conversation with, in terms of um, observing from a distance, right? The objective observer, from both the adult um, aspect of yourself and the child, right? The youth. It could be helpful to even create a pros and cons list if you don't have someone to speak to, or you don't have the time, or whatever is keeping you from that. I do find pros and cons lists very helpful. So just consider a question or a theme that you have and create a pros and cons list around that, Gemini. And I think that that might help a little bit with what's going on here. With the treasure island, you can see how beautiful this is. We have one of the world's, indeed one of man's most ancient symbols, for not only life, but the universe itself, right? The turtle. This is what some ancient cultures, not just one, but many of them, considered that the entire universe rested on the back of a turtle. So we have something really, really ancient here. When they call this, the law of attraction card, it's no doubt. And we have all also themes of polarities. We have air and water. We have, riding the tide between them. There's this sense of balance here. So, like the global balance, the yin and yang. So, there's a lot of messaging going on here as well. And the hearts and the stars around, of course, this golden box of treasure. So, when they say Treasure Island, they mean this place that you can go to and you can draw from some of the greatest elements of the human condition in their most pure form. So you are entitled to this. Um, you have connection to this. You're aware of this on an applicable sense. You are aware how to apply this in your everyday life. But like I said, there is a sense of, is it what you truly want? Yes, you can bring what you want into the world. Is it what you're fated to do? And I think this is where the question resides for you this week, in terms of what is working against you, or what do you need to know. This is where the fates is positioned. So it could be, again, with the observer, it could be really about asking some questions about, and really only if there's a sense of, like I said, you can't put your finger on it. Something's a little bit out of place. Something feels like something's missing. Something's, like everything's perfect, quote unquote, except for this one little thing or one little area. That's the area that I'm going to get you to look at, that you believe is fated, that I'm seeing here truly isn't. Okay? Particularly if it feels like it's overwhelming, or if it's causing some sort of, heaviness, okay, in your life here. And when I say golden opportunity, I am drawing from the color here and this sense of peace. There is something to be uncovered. We can see this gorgeous fox sitting on the egg. The egg, of course, is another ancient symbol of fertility. There is something to be gained from this procedure, even if it's not immediate. It's another reason why I say, even if you go about this process and you begin it, or you attempt it, or you contemplate it this week, nothing needs to be fixed this week, okay? Gemini, that's not the outcome here. The process here is to get to the point where you're okay observing objectively, okay? And to do it from both a sense of, uh, the adult sense of fate, I feel like I have to do this, or this is, what do we say a lot? When we say, well, this is the way it has to be, or this is, okay, all I'm saying there is, if you don't like where this has to be, examine it, because if you truly feel that way at your soul, at your core, then it's not true. Okay, and we can't put the power into the fate to live a certain way that isn't true for us if it's a lie. All right, and then obviously, and I'll only say this one more time, I promise. Really look at what made you happy as a child. It's really important this week to remember, to recall, to generate that sense of pure joy. There's I would even say, a need for innocence this week, um, to remember, particularly with regard to this query or this concern, to perhaps even do it through a sense of innocence. Um, Another way to frame this concern or this examination is to say something like, you're an adult now. What would you say now to the 5 or 6 or 7 year old you, right? Um, some people, poets and writers, will do it as a project, like, letter to my 8-year-old self, letter to my 10-year-old self, etc. So maybe that could be another way to examine this, in terms of doing this on your own and for yourself, by yourself, even if it's from, you know, uh, just to begin it at that place, as a letter to yourself, or a pros and cons list. We have answered prayer as one of the additional message cards here. I do feel like there is an element of your life at least one element of your life that you feel so secure in, so positive about, so safe in, that I'm going to ask you to continue to rely on then that portion is true. That is an extremely true portion of your life, whatever. And yes, I do mean specifically emotional, psychological, or spiritual here. Whatever that is that's working for you, that you can draw upon, you can get that strength from, that innocent strength from, that, you know, element of belonging and being understood, and something that's greater than you, right? If you can even feel a tiny bit of that this week, or get in touch with that this week, Gemini, I really feel like you will help yourself a lot out. Out a lot is what I meant to say. Just in terms of being grateful and showing gratitude here. And then your final outcome card is the Otter. I love this card. This is woman medicine. And again, way back to the very beginning when we were talking about the maternal aspect of a project or a group, or even heading the family, there, it could be about the family in particular here, or a member of the family, either close or extended, or a friend that feels like family, whatever family means to you in this context. But woman medicine, this is going to take a woman's touch. This is going to take intuition, examination from an emotional, a spiritual, even a graceful perspective, versus, say, a generative kind of forceful, um, you know, projective energy. I do think this is going to have to come from within, a receptive energy, a gentle energy, um, something that is even playful. Like I said, I think innocence is an important element here. So take the time this week, Gemini, if you can, if you want to get to the bottom of this, and just start jotting some stuff down, and see how you feel at the end of it. And if you have a second, let me know how this works out for you. I'm genuinely curious to hear how this works out for you. And if you're not already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, because I upload videos for your sign every single week. Until we meet next time, Gemini, please take good care, and I will see you then.